when AI came out, one of the things I really quickly realized it allowed me to do was to take my ability that I have to hyper focus for a short period of time and get a lot more done. And ironically, expand that hyper focus because my mind wouldn't get so far ahead of what I was doing that I was able to stay hyper focused longer. And so I decided to make the brand really just some more centered on me than historically has been. And it's really worked out well. I mean, we've grown an amazing business. Happy to say that in many ways we're larger than when we had the agency as far as revenue and all that, not necessarily staff wise. Probably the biggest thing we did is that I decided I was going to post a minimum of 3 times a day in that group. Every post was going to add value and that I was never going to ask people to give me money. My average transcript when I do like a training that's an hour long, the transcript to get it transcribed generally costs me about 3 to 4 cents. So that's for an hour long conversation. So actually it's a friend of my wife's, and she used to run a business doing that. They had 30 some people on staff and they transcribe stuff. And now they don't. It's her and she runs everything based upon AI because we don't need that any longer. And it's candidly faster and more reliable and they never call in sick and that all works good.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing Without Rules, the show where we celebrate people who exemplify the hunter mindset. They make moves, they color outside the lines, and they have found creative ways to channel the attention of their community into currency. This show is sponsored by Blue Crocus Solutions, a web design and SEO agency focused specifically on helping home service companies. I am your host, Lewis Vandervalk, and today I have the pleasure of chatting with Jonathan Mast. Jonathan is a seasoned AI consultant, digital strategist, and founder of Whitebeard Strategies. With a career spanning nearly 3 decades in digital marketing, Jonathan helps businesses harness the power of AI to streamline operations, boost profitability, and stand out in the digital space. He's also the founder of Valorous Circle, a successful digital marketing agency, and he's an active thought leader in AI-driven business strategies. He's founded and grown a group of almost 400,000 entrepreneurs learning about AI. So Jonathan knows a thing or two about the topic, and I'm really excited to dive in today. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. And as we were getting a little caught up beforehand, it's good to chat again. It's been a few months, so
it's been a second. Yeah. So the first question's a tough one here. My question is: did the brand bring about the beard, or did the beard bring about the brand?
The beard brought about the brand. Yeah, I've been growing the beard for about 7 years, and when I decided to do this, I was like, one of my least favorite things in any business is picking a name. I just don't like it because then you got to find something, then you got to find a domain that's available, and is it available on a trademark and all that. And I was sitting around probably grousing about how much I hate doing that process with my wife, and one of us thought about, well, why don't we use your white beard? And I remember the comment was made, but if I do that, I can't shave it. And she's like, I don't care. And I'm like, cool, I don't care either. So Whitebeard Strategies it became.
I love it. It's a great brand, and it works really well in AI too. All your AI likenesses look great with a beard as well.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So Jonathan and I think we've been connected 2 or 3 years at this point. I connected with you back when you were in your digital marketing agencies, age, your era, if you will. And then as AI rolled out, you just became a force to be reckoned with. And the way I saw it from the outside looking in was you started a group, the one that I mentioned in the intro, the AI Prompts for Entrepreneurs, I believe is the name. I'll link it in the description as well.
Yep, that's correct.
But I saw you start that, and it basically was like a build in public, learn along with Jonathan thing.
Very much so.
You were learning the AI tools, and then you basically branched out. And there's some stuff I want to talk about with branding and whatnot that came from that, because I think it's opened a ton of doors for you from what I've seen as well.
Tons.
But give me, just clarify my perspective on that. Was it actually that, just learning alongside you as you went, and then you turned it into something as it grew?
Largely, yeah. I mean, I'm the quintessential ADD founder, visionary entrepreneur guy that has more ideas before breakfast than most people do all week, and I drive my staff crazy sometimes because of that. And when AI came out, one of the things I really quickly realized it allowed me to do was to take my ability that I have to hyper focus for a short period of time and get a lot more done, and ironically expand that hyper focus because my mind wouldn't get so far ahead of what I was doing that I was able to stay hyper focused longer. And I'm like, this is so cool. I have to teach other entrepreneurs how to do this. And you and I met, through an agency group, and I would say, at least half the people in that group would readily admit that they are likely ADD as well, maybe more. And I'm like, this just fits with so much of what I do. And I just wanted to really teach people how to do that. So yeah, a lot of it when I got started was, hey, I'm going to be doing this. If you're interested, come along for the journey, look over my shoulder and let's have some fun.
Yeah. And it has been fun.
It has
I
been.
actually didn't have a chance to go back and look at exactly when you started that. Do you remember when you started it? It wasn't
May
that
of
long.
2023. Yep.
That's crazy. So it's almost been 2 years, 400,000 people
Almost,
just
yeah.
about in there. Talk a bit about that from a branding perspective, because I think you've talked about this as well, but I've seen some opportunities open up where you've been on panels talking about AI. You've obviously been on
Mhm.
podcasts. You're here on this podcast now because you've turned this into your brand. But from a branding perspective, what has that been like as the person sitting in the brand?
Well, for years, when we had the agency world, which by the way, I've moved on from, so I'm no longer involved in that. But when we
Yeah.
had that, I did that very specifically in that I didn't want to be the brand. I wanted to build a company that I could sell and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, if I'm the brand, it's going to be really hard to sell that because I would be the brand. And that was fine and that was great. But I just decided, what the heck, I've not done this before. And probably in one of my mid-morning thoughts was like, well, let's try doing it a different way this time. And so I decided to make the brand really just some more centered on me than historically has been. And it's really worked out well. I mean, we've grown an amazing business. Happy to say that in many ways we're larger than what we were when we had the agency as far as revenue and all that. Not necessarily staff wise, but it's been a great business. It's been tons of fun. I still continue to have a lot of fun at it. And yeah, the branding opportunities that have been opened up really are just amazing, from being invited to speak at different places now to the point where I can get paid to speak at different places, podcasts galore, just a community that I guess when I had the agency, I was always reaching out to other people, kind of going, hey, look at, this is why you should talk to us. And what has really changed with Whitebeard Strategies is now I don't really do any outbound at all. It is literally people that are coming to me going, hey, how do we work with you? How can we work with you? Can you do this? Because the brand's thankfully grown to be strong enough that it's an inbound marketing, truly an inbound marketing thing now, which has been a very pleasant and different change for me.
What did you do purposefully when you were growing the Facebook group you are the Facebook group? And maybe it's because I knew you at the start, but I feel like that's pretty obvious to the people that jump in as well. What did you do consciously to make that happen?
Probably the biggest thing we did is that I decided I was going to post a minimum of 3 times a day in that group. Every post was going to add value, and that I was never going to ask people to give me money.
Very cool.
And we did that.
You never have asked for people to give you money, have you?
I mean, we sell courses and stuff like that, but it's all optional. And we didn't even offer our first even opportunity to even decide you wanted to do that until, let's see, it was April of last year. So almost a year into it. And we launched our first AI course based upon feedback from the group. Group's like, we need a course we want to buy. So even today, if you want it, we have some courses and trainings that are available, but probably one of the most common things I hear, so I'm probably not the best marketer, probably good I got out of that business, is I didn't know you did this. You probably the same thing all of our clients tell us occasionally is that they just didn't know we provided some service or something like that. So even today, we try to be so focused on adding value, and that's really kind of the core of where we come from. So even today, I mean, I'm putting 3 to 10 posts out every day, all value based, all to add, basically giving away all the knowledge for free.
Yeah, it's been cool to watch. Let's switch gears a bit. So let's say you're a home service business owner. How does all of this come together? Why does it matter? What can I do to use it? I know I asked you the question off air, what's something that you're the most excited about, a tool that you're most excited about going forward. But if you're a home service business owner, knowing what you know, what would you be really excited about sharing with other home service business owners?
There are so many tasks that every business owner has, home service company or not, that we do because we need to do them, not because we want to do them. And almost all of those tasks, not all of them, but almost all of them can be handed off in full or in part to AI to help you do. And so it's not about taking a task that used to take me every Friday afternoon and having it done automatically for me, but it's about saying, instead of me spending 4 hours on this every Friday afternoon, I'm going to spend 30 minutes on it, and it'll be done better, more consistently, and again, just be done in 30 minutes as opposed to 4 hours. There are so many opportunities like that. Simple ones that, may not be recurring, but, I was just talking, for example, we're in the process of getting our kitchen remodeled, and we were talking to the contractor about some things, and he was expressing that, it's, one of the things I really struggle with is how do I communicate updates throughout my project? Because I want to do it in a way to keep the client informed, but I also want to do it in a way that doesn't beg 400 questions, because I don't have time to go back and answer all these questions. And so how do I do do that. And so we just talked to him about, what about if you would have AI help you develop an onboarding that literally was able to take the proposal or the project that you've proposed for your client. So that proposal that you sent them that says, okay, we're going to install your new HVAC, or we're going to remodel your kitchen, or we're going to do a new roof, or whatever it may be in home services. And based upon that and its understanding about your company and the process that you want to follow, have it create an onboarding email sequence for your new client. So that this isn't something you had to think about. It's literally something you could give to somebody sitting at the front desk and go, please upload this, press this button. And 3 minutes later, you've got 6 emails to send the client. The first one is welcoming them as you would want to welcome them, with the information about your company that you want to do. The second one says day 3. And then so on day 3, it gets sent out. Or if you're using an automation system like High Level or anything like that, they can get it put into a sequence like that can happen automatically. Begin with that. The second part is when updates come due, instead of slaving and going, I got to make a note, I got to get back in the truck, I got to figure out how to do this. Literally grab, and I'm looking for my phone. I don't know where I put it now. My wife must have stabbed it. Oh, here it is. Literally grab my phone and turn on the microphone, not the voice AI, but just the microphone, and just speak to it and go, all right, so I've got an update for the masts. I'm standing in your kitchen. I want to let you know the cabinets are in, this flooring is in, this is where we're at. I want you to notice this part over here, by the way. I'm going to take a picture of that. And the countertop is due in next week. It's been delayed by a week, but not to worry. It'll be done before you guys are back in the area. So everything's good to go. And then having that AI model trained on who your company is, which is not a hard process to do. Somebody's going, how do I do that? Super easy. I can now give it to that, and it can write an email or a text message or a letter or whatever I need to do in, again, seconds, so that literally by the time I'm back in my truck, I've got all of that done and ready to go. And my office can grab it and send it, or I can send it. And now, instead of having to go, okay, it's the end of the day, I've got to do updates for these 6 clients, projects, and where we're at, it's already done. It's already been taken care of. It sounds like you, and it's probably been written better than what you would have written it on your own, because AI is just really good at that type of communication and is going to do a great job at it. And those are just, you're scratching the surface. We haven't talked about SOPs, how we could use it to make sure my team's all on the same page, so that I know that we're following the same protocol every time we go into a house or when we kick off a job, having checklists that are attached to it so that my office can get those back, so that my team leads know that, yes, here are the things I have to check and make sure I got done. All of that type of stuff can be created with AI and then used on a regular basis. The ability, for example, to have the call transcripts when calls come into my office and my front desk is taking them, and I wonder why is I'm paying money for ads and we're not getting more book deals, to have those calls analyzed by AI and have then suggestions and training tips brought back out to say, based upon what the customer or the prospect said and what your team said, here are things that could be improved to increase your closing percentage and increase your likelihood. So now, instead of getting frustrated that your ads aren't working, or getting frustrated that your front desk isn't taking care of things, or that just things aren't going well, you've got actionable strategies that your team can use to improve and better serve your clients. And we can do all this in literally seconds with AI.
Can you dive into the sales call one? That's one that piques my interest, because that's on my to-do list, actually. So let's say mine's fairly easy because I do it in GHL, and so they have transcripts. I don't know if there's some automation to export that transcript. I haven't looked into it yet. But what would be the process to take, let's say someone has CallRail or call tracking metrics or GHL or whatever. What would be a simple step process to help them analyze those sales calls?
Step one is we just need a way, as you mentioned, to record the call. And pretty much all systems nowadays are going to be able to give that to us. So that's easy. Then we have that exported either as a transcript if the platform supports it, or if not, we actually give the call, the MP3 file, whatever the WAV file, to AI to transcribe for us. It'll go ahead and create a transcript of that. We then have a trained coach, essentially, which is an AI bot, essentially, that we're using, that will go out and analyze that call transcript, both sides, and then make suggestions back that, hey, one, don't forget we've got to do these 3 things because we committed to do that on the call. The client mentioned this and we didn't take any upsell opportunity, or we didn't talk about the fact that we won an award in this area last year. Let's make sure we follow up with that. And oh, by the way, here's 3 things or 5 things that your agent could do better next time to possibly close this deal while they're on the phone. And since they're already off the phone because I have this transcript, here's a recommendation of 4 things that you can do today or before tomorrow to try to close this deal or move this deal forward before they go somewhere else. And all of that can be done. And again, literally that whole analysis time is probably less than 60 seconds once they have the transcript.
Where do you transcribe it? So let's say I just have an audio file. Do you just throw that in ChatGPT?
If I've just got an audio file, I need to use a third-party service. So ChatGPT ChatGPT currently, as we're recording this, won't transcribe it. OpenAI has a service called Whisper to do it. There are tons of other apps that are out there and that will do transcription. So depending on where you're at, there's a lot of different ways to get it done. But give you an example, that my average transcript when I do like a training that's an hour long, the transcript to get it transcribed generally costs me about 3 to 4 cents. So that's for an hour long conversation. So getting this done is far less expensive.
I remember when it was super cool to find like the per people services.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, pay $10 or $20 to get the transcribed for 30 minutes or something. So how times have changed, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have, it's a friend of my wife's, and she used to run a business doing that. They had 30 some people on staff and they transcribe stuff. And now they don't. It's her, and she runs everything based upon AI because we don't need that any longer. And it's candidly faster and more reliable than ever call in sick. And that all works good.
Yeah. We'll get to that topic in a bit around everybody freaking out about people's jobs.
Sure.
But GPTs, we were talking about that. You're coming up with a subscription service where people can basically take advantage of a ton of GPTs that you have created. But let's say you've mentioned it a couple times now. You can train it on your business. Talk to us about that process, and as if I don't know anything about it, walk me through what that would look like to train a GPT or train ChatGPT on my business, and maybe describe what a GPT is separate to a ChatGPT as a whole.
So a custom GPT is simply a version of ChatGPT that has its own training data that you've provided to it. So again, a custom GPT might have something to do with your company. In fact, I recommend that every organization out there should have what we call an organizational GPT that is trained on your organization, who you are, your mission, your clients you serve, not necessarily the individual names, but the audiences that you're serving, what it is you provide to them, all that type of stuff should be part of that. And training it, if you're wondering, Jonathan, how do I do all this? Well, it's as easy as opening up ChatGPT and going to it and saying, I want to create an organizational GPT that's trained on my organization. I don't know how to do it. So I want you to interview me, and I want you to ask me as many questions as necessary, one at a time, until you've gathered all the information needed to give me a synopsis that I can train you on to resemble my company. That's it.
I love the question method.
It works. You'll probably spend 20 to 30 minutes answering questions. By the way, you can drop that time a lot if instead of typing your answers, if you just use the little microphone button on your computer instead, or on your phone, and have it transcribe that for you. And you can talk for minutes at a time. If it says, tell me about Whitebeard Strategies, I don't have to make it simple. I can go, well, Whitebeard Strategies is a company I started 2 years ago. It's based on the fact that I've got a long white beard and we were looking for fun branding. And so now that's a big part of what we do. And here's, we provide AI coaching and consulting services, and here's who we provide it to. I could ramble on and on for 5 minutes and it will transcribe all of that in real time. No problem whatsoever. And then I can press go, and then it'll analyze it and ask me the next question. And when I'm done, it'll give you probably a 5 to 10 page document of all of the things that you can upload to this custom GPT as a training file so that it knows about your organization. And so now when you're trying to, in the future, when you're trying to write that update for that client, you don't have to invoke it. You literally just go click on a button on your chat GPT that loads that agent, so to speak, or that GPT. And now when I say, I need to send an update for this, it automatically knows who I am and what tone it's supposed to take, the products and services, the way that we want to handle things. So all of those are taken into account then. And when that content is created, it reflects who we are as a company.
Yeah, it's so cool. You touched on something there. I said I loved the question method. I've used the question method when I'm stuck. I actually was trying to rework our core values as a company, make them a bit stickier. And I had gone through a bunch. It's kind of been a 2-year process, actually. And I finally just said, give me all the questions that you could possibly think of to find out what my values actually are, so that I can distill this down into 4 to 5 tangible things for our team. It gave me, I think it was like 80 to 100 questions. And I just went through them, and then it spat it out, and then I tweaked it and whatnot, and then it gave me a nice acronym, and I was thrilled. It saved me so much time, and it saved that creative block that, especially you mentioned people with ADD.
Yes.
Like that's a lot of us entrepreneurs on some level of the scale, but we're pretty good. At least I find I'm pretty good at answering questions. I do it all the time in chat for my team. I do it all the time on
Sure.
Facebook for prospects. So I've just tricked my brain into answering questions for ChatGPT, and then it just carries on and does the thing that I need it to do.
Well, I think as entrepreneurs and business owners, many of us fall in that if we don't know what to do next, then we've got all these other things that are competing for our attention going now.
Like a
Well, I don't know
logjam.
what to do here, so I'll go over here instead because I know what to do there. And yeah, the benefit of that interview process, and you can use Gemini, Grok, the platform doesn't matter if you're listening in, but just ask it to do that. And the beautiful thing about AI, it's been trained on so much data that it generally knows the questions it would like to have answered in order to give you a great response.
Yeah.
But it's also been trained to be nice to you, so it doesn't necessarily go, hang on, stupid, you just forgot to tell me 12 things that I need to know. So it fills in the blanks. And that's when we become underwhelmed because we didn't give it enough information. And all of a sudden we're going, well, that was stupid. That is my audience. I'm in home services and I take care, I do roofing for residential customers. And it just talked about me fixing oil on a car. I don't do that. Well, if you didn't tell it that you're in the home services business and you do roofing for residential homes, it's not going to know that. But that's that benefit of that organizational GPT. And when you ask it to do that interview process, it's going to ask you, like you said, maybe up to 60, 70 questions. But the beauty is once you've answered that once as a business owner, you're done. It's not like an employee that keeps coming to you and says, hey, boss, you showed me this 3 times yesterday and probably 4 times the day before, but I don't remember. How do I do this? That'll never happen. It'll ask you once and you're done. So it's a great way to really leverage your time and your skill as a business owner because you can put that data in one time and that can even be available for your team to use, your customer service, wanting to know how to respond to things. Imagine if you gave them a tool that next time a customer's got a question about something they don't know how to answer, they literally can ask your trained GPT and get an answer that probably is the way you would want it done and maybe even uses actual data that you want for that.
Yeah, it's huge. This interview wouldn't be complete without answering the question of, we're talking about, you had a great example there of your wife's friend who used to do transcription services by hand and now does it all herself. How do you think the labor market is going to go with all of the incredible tools that are coming out for AI? What's your take on that? And I don't quite know how to ask the question to get the most pithy answer, but
No, it's you know me well enough. I'm opinionated, and I don't mind sharing those. So
yeah, that's why we're chatting.
I went back and looked at, in addition to my own perspective, I went back and looked at what happened when the internal combustion engine came out, what happened when the PC came out, what happened when the internet came out, and the same fears that we're hearing right now that we're all going to lose our jobs, it's going to take over, we had those same exact fears in society at each one of those occurrences, and probably many more before that I'm not aware of. The reality is that, yes, there were some people that were displaced in jobs, and the AI is going to do that. There's no question about it. But the part that everybody seems to leave off is that AI is creating, as did the PC and as did the internet and as did the engine, probably 10 to 100 times more jobs than it's taking away. So if you're in a position, let's say you're a transcriptionist and, can AI do it very well? Yeah, probably 95% as well as you can in literally a 1/100th the time. So what do? Well, if I'm in transcription, I go to my boss and I try to become the person in charge of that process so that my boss needs me. And if I'm not, or I'm unfortunate enough to get caught in that, then I go, okay, well, I used to make $20 an hour or $25 an hour or $30 an hour, whatever it was, doing this job. I'm going to go out and offer it as a service to people now because I can. Because I can literally, as one person, I can do that on a very effective basis. AI ultimately amplifies skill and experience. So if I went to start a transcription business, I would not necessarily be successful just because I understand AI, because I don't understand the transcription business. Yeah. But by leveraging the knowledge and experience from being in the transcription business and then using AI to make the process more efficient, you could do very well. So I'm not one of those people that says, nope, nobody's going to be displaced. Yes, people are going to be displaced. There are not many buggy whip manufacturers around anymore. And before the internal combustion engine, there were. Now, I am actually in an Amish community, and there is a buggy whip manufacturer where we live, but it's one guy. Nobody's complaining, though, about the fact that it's just one guy to serve the community. That's all fine in the way that it works out. There's so many other jobs available that everybody's employed, everybody has things to do. But like most advances, if we want to sit on the sidelines and go, no, it's not happening, you're likely raising your hand and going, I want to be displaced by AI and I want to complain about it, because it will happen. But I don't think we're going to see the what the fear mongers are talking about the mass layoffs and nobody having any work to do anymore because of AI. What's going to happen is, I believe in us as humans, and we're going to find more and more opportunities to go, well, hang on, I guess I don't have to pay somebody to run that report for me every Friday anymore because AI can do that. well, if that's the case, I can do this. And if I can do that, I need somebody to help me do this. And so we're going to create more and more opportunities, not fewer in my mind. And I'll use Whitebeard Strategies as an example. Just this morning, we had a conversation, and we use AI in our team, as you can imagine, extensively. And we decided we were adding 2 more customer service people, not because of the fact that AI can take that job away, but because we want that personalized experience. And candidly, AI is not yet at a point to really do most of the customer service that we need done. It doesn't have the ability to check all the variations and make independent choices on stuff. And so as a result, we're actually creating more jobs. Part of that's being done because as my assistant uses it and my ops team uses it, they're finding out that they can take more off my plate. Well, as the ADD visionary entrepreneur, what's that mean? I've got more ideas waiting over here to put onto my plate. That creates more opportunities. And now all of a sudden we're into AI and we're expanding as a company, even though we preached and teach people how to use it to leverage things, because we've created more opportunity. And I think that's going to happen more often than not.
That's super exciting. Yeah. What tools do you use the most on a daily basis? And what do you, I think I'd asked you at the beginning, what's your favorite tool, but like what tools are you just using all the time?
By far and away, if people are wondering, where do you get started? Do I need the right tool? The answer is you need ChatGPT. There are others, but ChatGPT, don't worry about the others until you've gotten to the point that you go, ChatGPT just isn't cutting it. And that's not because you don't know how to prompt it, by the way. I mean, I've been using AI for over 2 years now. I do 80 to 90% of my work in ChatGPT. The work that I don't do in there tends to be music and or image related, 2 things that I don't think ChatGPT does a great job of. Are there other tools I use? Yes, absolutely. It's my business. I test them all out. I use tons of them. What I don't use, and what seems to get entrepreneurs all excited, is we always see new advertising coming out for, here is the perfect tool for the roof. If you're a roofer, this is the perfect tool. If you're a home remodeler, this is the perfect tool. If you're a plumber, 99% of those tools, if not more, are just rebadged versions of ChatGPT that you're going to pay more money for.
Just branded to whatever the market
Somebody
is.
created a new wrapper and they said it's the plumbing GPT, and they're selling it as that for more money than ChatGPT sells for, because they've got a smaller audience. So yeah, ChatGPT is still by far and away the most common tool that I use. And it's where I recommend everybody spend most of their time, unless they're an exception to the rule. And most of us, even if you're entrepreneurial, listen to this, you're not an exception to the rule in most cases. Start and spend your time on ChatGPT. The other thing I want to encourage you there is, if you're listening, don't try to figure out how to get 100% effectiveness out of AI. Focus on the old 80-20 rule. You can get 80% of the way there in 20% of the time, and you will dominate your industry and your competition, because they're so focused on how do they do it perfectly. You don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to do it good. And you can do that so fast and have such amazing impact on your business, on your team, and on your clients, that whether you ever get to perfect doesn't matter. Plus, it's changing so fast that if you take the time to look for the perfect tool, by the time you've found it, there'll be new advances that will have rendered that tool obsolete. So take the best that you can find available in the next 10 minutes and run with it.
That's great advice. Yeah, because it can be very overwhelming if you're just jumping in. I use ChatGPT mostly as well. In fact, I went that bio that I read at the beginning, fact checked by me, but I just asked ChatGPT, who's Jonathan Mast, and give me a bio for my podcast. It's
there you go.
And you fed it a lot of information. Of course, I fact checked it, as you should, with all the times you use AI, but it saved me, going and hunting everything down.
Absolutely.
Since we'd chatted. So I think there's so many nuggets we've already touched on. Lots of ways you can really color outside the lines here as a business owner. Let's get some really tactical marketing stuff here to finish up the show. What are some ways that I am a plumber, a roofer, a junk removal company? What are some ways that I can use AI to not only save myself time, but maybe amplify the measly marketing efforts that I'm doing now, and really get that turned up to 10?
First, more than anything else, I would encourage you, if you're using a marketing agency, which I recommend because they are good at what they do, generally, not all, most are, make sure they're leveraging AI to help deliver value to you. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, because AI amplifies skill and experience, you want somebody who's skilled and experienced using it for you. Yeah. But in the meantime, things that you can do. Every one of us as a business needs to get more brand awareness. Every one of us needs to have better top of mind. And that's not generally the type of thing that a marketing agency does for the budgets that we have as a home service company to do. And you can do that easily by leveraging AI to help create helpful social media content, to create videos that you are going to grab my phone. You are going to hold your phone up and you are going to record selfie style. You don't need a studio. You don't need anything else. In fact, guys, I have a suction cup on the windshield of my truck that has a mount that holds my phone. And I do 90% of my videos. You've probably seen a couple of them, Lewis. I do 90% of my videos sitting in my truck with the phone held up by the windshield, and I just press record and I answer questions. Every single day as business owners, we're being asked questions. The customer that asks you that isn't the first one who's ever asked any of those questions. So now take the top 10 that you've got, and you've got 10 days worth of great short form, under 60-second videos that you can do. And if you're not comfortable with it, have ChatGPT write you the video script, pull it up on your screen, and you can read it as it's going across. So there's so many simple things like that. But my recommendation, again, even if you're using an agency, that chances are they're not really building that brand awareness because they're trying to get leads to come in. Brand awareness is a longer game. Ask ChatGPT to help you with things like social media posts that are helpful, questions that your audience is asking if you're not sure. And the other thing is segmentation. Understand that if, let's say, again, I'm in the junk removal business, I'm probably working with both commercial entities and residential entities. They've got different needs, different concerns, different things they care about. Ask me how I can better fit the needs of a commercial user, how I can better fit the needs of a residential user. Ask me for ways that people maybe want to use junk removal that I'm not thinking of. What are some opportunities that exist? And then find out, have it go look at your competitor websites and your website and give you an analysis of, are you addressing those pain points well? And then if not, fix them. Super simple. The last part is just communication. There is not a business that I'm aware of in the world that does enough non-sales communication to their clients, myself included. So do a better job of sending out one more a week or one more a month, whatever it is, quality, helpful communication to your clients, letting them know that you value them as your clients and giving them something that demonstrates your expertise. It could be a tip, an insight, whatever in your business. Or maybe it's just an idea of, hey, I'm looking for people that are X, Y, and Z. Who do you know? I'll buy you a Starbucks if you refer somebody. Use it to do things like that add value to your audience. And again, you will leave your competition in the dust because most of your competition is too focused on the other parts of life to do a couple of these things that, by the way, you could do all this in about 20 to 30 minutes a day.
Yeah. What is it? I love those tips. Thank you for laying that out. I want to get to the things that are dead giveaways that you used, ChatGPT, for example, in your social media posts. Hold that thought though. What is it about you that I've seen you do this multiple times? You committed to the three posts a day in your group. You committed to the 90. I forget what your podcast was. I think it was 90 and 90.
Yep.
You did that. You've done it with other things. You committed to posting a reel a day, I think. Where does that come from? And obviously I've seen the effects of it, the consistency in any action like that, and what it can grow to. But where did those ideas come from, and how have they worked for you?
The ideas really originated from people like Gary Vaynerchuk and others who talked about if what you're doing is working at any level, imagine if you could do 3 times as much or 10 times as much, what that would do for you. Combined with the fact that if I want myself to do something, I just have to be told I can't do it. That's my personality. My wife and I were just having this discussion over the weekend. If she really wants me to do something, all she has to do is go, you can't do that.
I bet you can.
It doesn't matter what it is, I'll get it done because I'm going to prove her wrong unless I just don't care about it at all. And so by setting a challenge and sharing that publicly, as you can imagine, I've had plenty of people tell me, you'll never do that. You'll never achieve that. And I'm like, yeah, BS, watch.
Did people tell you that when you started the group?
Oh yeah. People, and I never really knew what to expect when I started the group. But I said I'm gonna post 3 times a day, and we're gonna see what happens. Well, that'll be a waste of your time. We'll see. But I wasn't going to give them an opportunity to then go, see, you didn't do it. It didn't work. I wanted to demonstrate and prove that it would work. I wanted to be seen as the expert in AI, and I knew that didn't mean I can't tell you that. If I tell you I'm an expert, that doesn't matter. If you tell others I'm an expert, Lewis, that's great. But if I go to tell you I'm an expert, it means nothing. So that meant I had to demonstrate to other people that I was an expert at what I did so that other people would indeed go, you need to talk to Jonathan Mast about that. That's the only way I was ever going to achieve my objective. And that meant I had to give value to people because I didn't have the ad budget when I started. Part of the deal I left the agency I was at, and I started, part of my deal with my wife was I wasn't going to use any of the funds coming in from the agency, our successful business, to launch my new business.
Yeah.
So I was, as many of us, I was operating a cash flow. That means I didn't have tens of thousands of dollars a month or even thousands a month to put into ads. So what did I have? Well, I had time when I was sitting in my truck, and I used it to record 2 or 3 videos and post them. And then did it matter the first 30 days? No. Did it matter the first 60 days? No. But about somewhere between 4 and 6 months, all of a sudden my phone started to ring and people were like, hey, you've been showing up on my news feed all the time. I want to talk to you about this. Yeah. Or people would call me up and go, hey, we're doing a conference. Can you come speak at this conference? And it gave me the opportunity to continue to expand that audience. And thankfully, it's been a blessing, and we're still here today.
So the Marketing Without Rules nugget from this, for anybody who's listening, is anybody can do what Jonathan's done. I've done it on smaller scales. If you're consistent at something for any amount of time, preferably at least 90 days, you're going to see some really cool results. And anybody can do it. You don't just have to be someone with a royal beard who knows AI. You can decide to do it and do it. And I think a lot of us as business owners, we have a lot of ideas, and if we just stuck to a couple of them consistently, we'd go a lot further, and we'd have more money and time to do all the other crazy ideas that we have. So there's some magic there. Let's thank you for laying that out. Let's talk about some of the dead giveaways that you have used AI to do your social post or your email.
I think, to me, probably the biggest dead giveaway is too many emojis. They show ChatGPT loves especially to put 2 in a row, which I've never really seen anybody do. So that's one of the dead giveaways. Another is things that just are called out and they're too cheesy from a marketing perspective. It's I don't start off my Facebook post by going, hey, you amazing marketing people. That would be, but that's how AI starts things like that.
Yeah.
The biggest reason I believe is that we don't, again, going back to what we talked about, we don't train AI to reflect our tone and style. Mm-hmm. And it is easy, by the way, if you're wondering, you go to a site called 16personalities.com, take their free personality test. We give you a 4-letter code. You can then just end your prompts with write in the style of and give it your 4-letter code. I'm an ENTJ.
I like that. I didn't know
it will immediately change the way it writes, and it will sound much more like you and much less like AI. By the way, it's free for anybody. It's 16personalities.com. I wish they had an affiliate code. They don't. I literally just go there. It's free. But when I tell ChatGPT that I'm an ENTP, so write in my style, it has literally reams of data about what that means as far as who I am, how I think, and it impacts the way that I would write, and it incorporates that. All of a sudden, it doesn't sound like AI nearly as much. The last tip I'll give there is when you use AI content, you still have to proofread it. You mentioned that you used AI to help write my bio to introduce me. That's great. But you still proofread it because sometimes AI just makes stuff up, and sometimes it uses stuff that, again, doesn't sound like us.
Was it right, what I read?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, everything was spot on.
Yeah, interesting. Now, another tip there is it was spot on because I didn't really change a whole lot. I just went through and I did fact check it, but it was spot on because you have so much information out there that it could pull from. And as a business owner or a business, you need to be putting, we talk about being consistent, posting on social media or posting on your blog or whatever the case may be. AI is here to stay, and it's going to be influencing people's search results, whether they're searching directly in in something like ChatGPT or they're searching in Google and it's doing an AI overview. If you have information about your company that it knows, that's going to help it serve you up in front of your ideal client. So that's something Jonathan has done really, really well. I think my pet peeve with AI is the really long hat or
the M dash. Yes.
Yeah, the M dash that jumps in. I'm just like, nope, I know exactly who got what tool to write that. But
yeah, and it is something that it likes to do. It's been trained on professional writing standards, and so sometimes you literally have to go, don't be quite so perfect.
Yeah, I've actually noticed that in some books since then. Some books that were written before AI, and I'm like, and then I looked it up, and that is actually like a thing. But it's just not how most people write, and it's not something I've seen people ever use in a social media post, for example.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've written a lot. I'm older than you, Lewis, and I remember learning that when we were learning how to write, that you had put that in different spots. And my wife is a communications major with a minor in journalism, so she's spent plenty of time helping me remember. And yeah, now all of a sudden that tactic that made me a quote unquote professional or more professional writer now is a dead giveaway for AI, they say. So sometimes you can't win. It's probably worth mentioning. People worry a lot about, should I worry about AI as far as content? What if my AI is content? Think about your audience. When you read something that's helpful to you, Do you care who wrote it? The answer is no, you don't. You care
No.
that it was helpful. And do that same thing with your content that you're producing. Make sure it's helpful. That's more important than passing some scammy detector that may or may not know whether you're AI written or not.
How much of your posting, here's a candid moment for you, how much of your posting in the group or on your feed are you leveraging AI to help you write?
100%.
I love that. I love that. And so are you just prompting it or giving it a voice note or something and then letting it run with your style? Like
Generally, I'm talking to it, but I mean, whether that's a personal post that I'm writing or whether it's something else, I'm using it to help make it better for what I'm doing. I'm still involved. AI is to me is a collaborator. It's not a replacement. I'm not going, come up with 5 good posts for my group today and copy and pasting them in. That's not it. But I've got a question or something I want to talk about, and then I talk to it a lot. I use the transcription feature, and that
just
works
like
great.
In the app on your phone.
Just literally, and not even the voice mode, but just the microphone that pops up when you click in the prompt box.
I've never done that one.
Yeah, huge time saver. It's a natural language processing model, and so when you talk to it, it actually responds really well. And but I don't remember the last time I put out a post of any sort that didn't have something that AI didn't help me make better in the process. Wow. And I'll admit that to anybody and happily do that.
And you of course have your own. You have your own GPT that you've trained and you use that to
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I like the 16 personalities thing. The other thing that's kind of hit me, because I don't, and you'll see that on my feed sometimes. I just don't have inspiration to post. But I did have a VA take all of my posts and put them in a spreadsheet, so I could sort them by what performed well. So I could take all of those, all the content of those, and feed them into a GPT to train it on how I write.
100%. 100%.
And then it would roll from there. Mm-hmm. That's very cool. That's my marketing without rules nugget that I got from this. What is something that you wish more people knew about AI?
That it's not going to bite. That it's a tool. Tool is not evil or good. It is neither. It's what we use it for. And I think so many people try to attribute either emotions or functionality to AI. I can't tell you how many people go, AI is trying to lie to me. AI is not trying to lie to you. It gets confused. Part of that's because it's been trained on every book in every library around the world. And if you've ever went to a bookstore library on a topic, you've seen books next to each other that disagreed with each other, and AI has been trained on both. So it will occasionally, mess things up. It's not intentionally doing that. It didn't go, today we're going to get Lewis all mixed up on this topic. It's not sentient, but we tend to do that. We tend to attribute that. That's just the nature of how we do things, and that's just not an accurate way to look at the way AI works today.
You don't think there's any truth to the people that say that they may be a little bit more left-leaning?
Oh, wow. I think it's been programmed, again, on tons of data. So I think AI has biases, absolutely, because the data that it trained on has biases.
Sure.
But
it's not waking up saying, I'm gonna confuse you today.
It's not an intentional bias that it gets. One that I see all the time is I love Imagery, and it will create white people in images more than it will multi-ethnic people all the time. Why? Well, if you look at the historical art that we have around the world, there's probably more white people in most of those historical artworks than there are anybody else. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but the moment I go do a multiracial person or a multi-ethnic person or an Asian or whatever I want, whatever ethnicity I want to choose, it nails it and it never objects to doing it. It's not like, oh no, I'm not doing that. It doesn't have a bias against something, but it does have biases based on the training data it's been given, and it's been trained on human data. We're flawed as humans. We make mistakes. Therefore, some of that training data is flawed as well.
Yeah, that's super interesting. We didn't really get into images. That is something you go into a lot in your AI prompts for entrepreneurs. What's a nugget you can leave on Imagery before we leave?
For the first time in history, you have the opportunity as a business to not only define a style of imagery that you like, but to make it part of your brand. And you literally use images that no one else is doing. So never again should you run down the highway and see an image on a billboard that you had on your last ad campaign because you used a stock photo.
That's huge. Could you give people like a crash course in what tools to use for Imagery? I know it's much more involved than that because I've seen some of the prompts that go into it in your group. But if I were to start exploring Imagery, where are a few places that I can?
In simplest terms, if you want photorealistic images, you likely need to be using either not DALL-E. You need to be using Midjourney or Flux, Flux. If you want text on your images, you want to not go into a tool like Photoshop or Canva or Illustrator to make that, then you want to use a tool called Ideogram. I don't know how to say that properly. Those are the 3 tools that I recommend to people. They all do a great job. And just again, communicate with it what you're looking for. You'd be amazed. It takes trial and error, but if you're creating images, be prepared to throw away 80% of them.
Yeah,
It's kind of like
that's a
when you're
good one.
learning to be
That's
when
a
you're
good
learning
one.
to become a photographer. I learned when I was 18 how to take pictures. I got my first camera.
You
And
went through a
I had
lot
to
of
learn I had to
film.
learn how to throw away a lot of images because I was learning. Problem is it was really expensive then because I was in college and I had to pay to get all that film developed. Now it's all digital. Costs you nothing to throw away 80 images when you create 100. It's not a big deal.
There's never been a better time to learn to fail.
Oh, so true.
Than we are in today. Yeah, very cool. Jonathan, this has been a blast. Always fun to watch
Thank you.
drop value on the socials, drop value for people. Glad to have a little snippet of that here for the audience. Where can people find you, and where are you the most active if they're to reach out and jump into your course or enroll in your GPTs, anything like that?
Simplest way is just remember my name, Jonathan Mast, and go to jonathanmast.com/linktree. And it's got all my information there, all my bits. I spend probably more time on Facebook than anywhere else, but I get about, last check, somewhere close to 400 direct messages a day. So that's not always the best way to go ahead and try to get through to me because, yeah, I'm dead serious. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
So much so that I actually have somebody that spends most of their time handling that because you just can't keep up with that many of them. So
that's wild.
yeah.
That's a new level of fame. I don't know if
I don't know if I call it fame or what, but it's I now am at a point where there are days I get more Facebook direct messages than I do emails, and that's not something to be happy about.
Not something to aspire to. That's true.
No, yeah, it's not something to aspire to. It's not what you want. But you know what? It's the way the community wants it. It's fine. It's not a problem. I don't mind. But yeah, just go to jonathanmast.com/linktree and all my contact information's there. Tons of free resources, a few paid ones too.
Very cool. Jonathan, it's been a pleasure. And guys, remember, if you do anything, pick one thing from this episode, go out, take action, and try some things out. Be okay to fail. This stuff is new. When you first learned how to use a skill saw, you cut some boards crooked. When you first learned how to use a carving knife, you dinged your finger a couple times. AI tools allow you to do that painlessly and pretty much at zero cost. So Jonathan, thanks for coming on and sharing a bunch of ideas on how business owners can improve their business with AI. And we will see you next time, guys.
Thanks for having me.